Nice try, but no. Question number 5, John Boscawen.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Climate Change Issues. Does he agree that New Zealand should not be doing more than the rest of the world on climate change? And if so, why did he tell the House on 24 September 2009 that, quote, this emissions trading scheme will be the first of any country outside of Europe, and on 1 July 2010 will be the most comprehensive by including transport, industrial and energy emissions?
Dr. Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, yes, it is the government's policy that New Zealand should do its fair share on climate change. Our emissions are 24% above 1990 levels and have grown at one of the fastest rates of any developed country. Our moderated emissions trading scheme is balanced and a responsible approach that will drive investment in renewable energy, energy efficiency and planting trees without an excessive cost burden on the economy.
Supplementary,
John
Mr Speaker.
Boscawen.
To the Minister, what is it about New Zealand's treatment of transport, industrial and energy emissions that makes New Zealand's ETS more comprehensive than the European scheme on 1 July this year?
Mr Speaker,
Dr. Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, the member has claimed that the European emissions trading scheme does not have any effect on householders. That's incorrect. While the cost of the European ETS is directly charged on the producers of electricity, of course that's passed on to consumers in exactly the same way as New Zealand. A key difference between the European and New Zealand emissions trading scheme is that we only have a half obligation, and for that reason the cost on consumers and business of the New Zealand scheme will be less than half of that which is imposed on the 29 countries in the European scheme.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, John Boscawen.
Look, I asked the Minister a very specific question. He made the claim last year that our scheme was more comprehensive. He's just set about explaining why it's less comprehensive. I'd ask the Minister to explain why our system is more comprehensive. Those were his own words last year.
I've got to admit the question asked by John Boscawen was a very clear question, and he asked exactly that. Why is the New Zealand scheme most comprehensive by including these things? And I'm not sure...
And Mr Speaker, there are a number of differences and there are a number of similarities with the European scheme. For instance, different European countries have a carbon tax specifically on transport. We have included all those sectors in the emissions trading scheme, albeit only at a half rate, i.e. the scheme on the 1st of July only requires emitters to be responsible for 1/2 of their emissions.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Dr. Cam Calder.
Supplementary to the Minister. What response has the Minister had to the government's moderated ETS, including at the 16 meetings he's spoken at around the country?
The Honourable Dr. Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, there's some opposition at both ends of the political spectrum, with some New Zealanders concerned that we're moving too soon and others that our scheme is too slow and too soft. I think most New Zealanders support the government's approach of carefully balancing New Zealand's environmental responsibilities and our economic interests. I note that only about 80 people joined today's anti-ETS protest outside, actually about the same number 6 months ago, who were protesting that our policy was too soft. That reinforces the fact that we've got the policy balance about right.
John Boscawen.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order.
I seek leave to table a letter from Nova Energy dated the 31st of May advising increases in the price of gas as a consequence of the ETS which starts on the 1st of July.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Question number 6, the Honourable David Cunliffe.